continue for this last chapter. Even after nearly a week of rest, your wounds still refuse to close. In the end, you have to begin work while still in bandages. The experience is not a pleasant one, and you fall into a sort of malaise. That week, Kendrickstone sees its first snow of the year. However, the pace of the city does not slow. A thick blanket of white that covers the streets is quickly trampled into a wet, muddy quagmire. The state of the three streets matches the wood within Kendrickstone's walls. For the bandit attacks are intensifying. The victims are no longer just isolated travelers and small traders now. Entire merchant caravans are getting massacred. On the road to and from the city. The tale is the same. Jesus. The tale is the same every time the site of a new raid is found. The guards riddled with arrows and arrows cut down. Jesus. Oh my god. Okay, that'll do. Sorry for the obnoxious sound there. The victims are no longer just isolated travelers and small traders now. Entire merchant caravans are getting massacred on the roads to and from the city. The tale is the same every time the site of a new raid is found. The guards riddled with arrows, the others cut down. There are never any survivors. At first, this does not much affect your lucrative new post within William of Halliford's organization. And yes, it is a lucrative position indeed. Your new position of power gives you oversight over a half-dozen inns and taverns. Each not only pays protection money to your boss, but also buys ingredients, furniture, and linens, and 100 other things I need to run an inn or alehouse from particular suppliers for favorable prices in return. It's your job to coordinate that as well, for a small fee, of course. Overall, the profit from such an operation is vast, so great that even 1/20th of the total of your share adds up to nearly 250 silvers in the first month alone. Unfortunately, it does not last. As the winter drags on, the bandit attacks grow worse and the city's economy begins to suffer. More and more businesses close their doors for good. By the end of the second month, the 2 inns have shut down and nearly a third of your supplies are gone. You make only 100 silver that month. You expend all the effort you can to squeeze every copper you can out of the operation, even resorting to newly learned merchants' tricks to do it. The next month is even worse. By the time the snow begins to melt, only a single inn, the Blazing Sword, and one last alehouse remain open. You only make 50 silver that month. As you walk the streets, you have a first-hand view of the city's encroaching financial ruin. Every day, more stalls lie empty and forlorn. Those that remain must raise their prices higher and higher. They also have families to feed. They also have families to feed, and with the price of food above all rising daily, they too must charge higher as well. The end result is that everything costs more, even the little things that make life more bearable. How much are you willing to spend for your comforts? Still 60. Now, more than ever, you know how important it is to enjoy what few comforts you can afford. A skin of wine every week, good dinner once a month. These things help keep you grounded. Many people around you descending into destitution and despair. What comforts you can afford keep your spirits high. Your days are full of work, but you are still allowed your evenings free. How do you spend them? Let's go find a book. Books are luxury, so and so. We've read this before. A survey of forest rooms. Evenings are spent by candlelight reading the recent accounts of the series of adventurous scholars from Toren Hall regarding the new flowering court ruins found deep in iron marches. Apparently, these new findings shed new light on many previously discovered structures. Derelict towers and stone circles, once thought to be the storehouses or defensive structures, are instead posited to be some sort of magical communication system capable of delivering messages instantly. Interesting. An adventurism. Okay, I'm reading ahead. One morning, as spring finally begins to return to the city, you are woken not by a knock on the door, but a sudden jab of something landing onto your chest. You spring out of bed, reaching for your weapon. Is someone attacking you? No, it is a folded note, now resting on the floor. Now resting on the floor, somehow it flew through your open window to land on you as you were sleeping. The parchment is sealed, but not by a family sigil. It is sealed by some kind of strange symbol of a type you've never seen before. You tear open the letter. The message inside is written in heavy, somewhat clumsy strokes. Axios, I'm told you are an adventurer of some skill. I shall require your abilities for a certain assignment, and you will be compensated. Ison, Court Wizard to Liafric II, Duke of Kendrickstone. The Court Wizard? What could he want with you? The Wizard's Tower stands at the confluence of the blue and silver branches of the river Colmere. It looms over the entire city, a vast edifice of stone sorcerous energy scraping the sky. The only entrance is a vast, gently sloping stone ramp, wide enough for ox carts to travel two abreast, that leads to the town hall narrow. Anyway. Okay. The only entrance is a vast, gently sloping stone ramp wide enough for ox carts to travel two abreast that leads to the tall, narrow door. You walk up the path, which is strangely warm to the touch and clear of snow, taking nearly 15 minutes to reach the door. The great expanse of the great market is far behind you. The rocks and the frozen waters of the Colmere are below, and the tower door looms before you. You step through the dark entranceway as you progress. A faint blue glow lights up the thick darkness of the passage, gradually growing brighter until it flares into radiance, bright as day as you step into a massive drum-like chamber. In the very center of the immense room sits a raised platform, wide enough to fit perhaps 6 or 7 people. Step onto the center. Step onto the center, if you please, booms a voice from above you, in an accent you've never heard before. You merely step onto the center of the platform. A moment after you step on, the floor trembles and the platform begins to gently rise from the ground, taking you with it, high into the air. You have never met the Court Wizard of Kendrickstone before. In fact, you haven't even seen him during your 9 months living in Kendrickstone. All you have heard are the rumors. Some say he was once a mighty general who led an army under the Coriandran Mansa. Expelled after a court rivalry cost him both his position and the use of his legs. Others say it was a failed coup that sent him into exile. Still more say it was a magical experiment gone horribly wrong. Whatever the cause, his reputation was certainly great enough for Duke Lothric. Let's see. Duke Lothric to invite him to become the court wizard over a year ago. The platform continues to rise. Sorry, lost my voices there. The platform continues to rise through a circular hole in the chamber's ceiling into the top part of the tower, suspended over the base by some sort of powerful enchantment. When the platform stops you in the top chambers, before you stands the man himself, Isan of Corleandus. He is haggard, overtired, and sleepless. This is the first thing you notice. You doubt he has seen a bed in at least 2 days. That, however, does not stop him from carrying himself with pride. Head tilted just so. Shoulders back straight, the very image of Corleandin highborn. Even the complex contraption of brass and enchanted mud brick that replaces 2 human legs with 4 spider-hinged ones cannot rob him of his grace. You are Axios, are you not? He asks. You nod. Good. Follow me. Master Isan's laboratory is not a small room. Had it been empty, you could imagine a dozen or so people sitting comfortably within. However, on this morning, it emphatically is not empty. The room is a maze. Stacks of books, piles of notes, and strange instruments clutter the floor, leaving only a few twisting passages where the stone floor is still visible. The court wizard picks his way gingerly across the vast but carefully stacked mess. You follow him as best you can, try not to tip over. Try not to tip over any of the precariously arranged piles of scraps. His son stops as he reaches a large stone table in a corner. Its top is dominated by an enormous apparatus of brass, steel, and black glassy stone. Both the desktop and the great machine glow with runes of blue and red. A series of lenses nestled in the device's brass arms, lined up with a vast, complex pattern of circles carved into the polished stone tabletop. Tell me, boy, the wizard asks, what do you know of the Flowering Court? You tell the wizard everything you know about the Flowering Court, which happens to be a great deal. You start with the basics, how the mighty magic-powered empire once ruled everything from the forest by the eastern coast to the Steelback Mountains, how they had disappeared so mysteriously, how the magic of modern mages is derived from the study of the Flowering Court lore. You continue into speculations and theories on their language, the political structure, their culture, and the secret things the Flowering Court never shared with its human neighbors while it existed. The good wizard smiles, his teeth bright. Very good. Then you know more than enough to understand the importance of the task I'm about to set you. What task is that? You reply. You still don't know what the wizard wants you for. Instead of replying, the wizard asks you another question. What do you know about my predecessor as court wizard? You admit that you know almost nothing at all about him, seeing as how Isan's predecessor left well before you arrived in Kendrickstone. Since your arrival, you haven't heard anyone in the city bring the previous court wizard up either. There is reason for that silence. My predecessor was run out of the city by the knights of Kendrickstone in an angry mob. Why would they do that? Because they deserved it, Isan replies, before correcting himself. No, he deserved worse. The wizard takes a breath to calm himself before continuing. From what I know, my predecessor was obsessed with his research, the exclusion of all other things, including morality. So, when his obsessions demanded the flesh and spirit of living creatures, rats, dogs, children, my predecessor did not make the same decision to step away. His son shakes his head angrily. Instead, he made those sacrifices wholeheartedly. The wizard meets your gaze, his eyes blazing with tightly controlled anger. My predecessor was a monster. The knights were far too kind to let him leave with his life. Why are you telling me this? You reply. What does a disgraced wizard have to do with anything? Isan sighs. I'm telling you this because for the past year, I've been reconstructing his research. It has not been easy. It has taken much time and effort to find a way around the need for live sacrifices, but I believe I found a way. All I need is one more thing, and that's where you come in. What is this research, anyways? My predecessor, Melius of Concordat, was an expert of the Flowering Court. Isan explains. Wait a minute, you reply as a month's-old memory pops into your mind. I know that name. I ran into a wizard named Lord Melius a couple months ago. He was leading some sort of black-clad bandits. Isan takes the news calmly. I see. He was pale, tall, face like a skull. You didn't get a good look, but you can confirm that, at least. The good wizard scowls. Then, from what I know of his appearance, it is indeed him. If he is working with the bandits that have been the cause of the city's troubles, then finishing his research is of paramount importance. The wizard takes a breath. As far as I can tell, Midas' research project involved reconstructing a spell the mages of the Flying Court were rumored to have mastered, namely, teleportation. Teleportation? As far as you know, teleportation is impossible. Isan waves a dismissive hand at your look of incredulity. I know. Teleportation is impossible. I thought so too, until I took a look at the misbegotten bastard's notes. I think teleportation is very much feasible, and more importantly, it might be able to give us an advantage against the bandits outside the walls. How would having teleportation help us against the bandits? You ask. The wizard answers your question with another question. You know what the most important things in warfare are, boy? You shake your head. Isan smiles broadly, perhaps happy to have a chance to remind you that he was once a general, as well as a wizard. The most important thing for any military force is logistics, to be supplied well enough to move and fight. The second is reconnaissance, the ability to find the enemy. At the moment, the bandits have the advantage in both. They know the force better, can move faster, and are not tied to a permanent base. If we are able to teleport soldiers, those advantages become ours. You nod. You can see it now. If the Knights of Kendrickstone were able to teleport at will to any location and back to safety in the city, they would be able to sweep through the entire forest in an afternoon. When the bandit hideout was found, the entire strength of the city's force could be at its door in an instant. With such magic, even the best defended cities could fall prey to a small fighting force. Constantly blinking in and out of battle, your bandits would be child's play. Isan sees comprehension drawn on your face. Now you understand, yes? But what do you need me for? The task I need you to accomplish is both very simple and very complicated. Isan replies. The answer is, of course, only raises more questions, which you're beginning to suspect is something this particular wizard does quite often. What's that supposed to mean? You ask. The wizard smiles. It means exactly what I said it means. I require a piece of stone from a Flying Court ruin as soon as possible to finish my research. Luckily, I've found that there is one very close. One of several stone circles in the forest around the city. It is barely 6 hours' walk to the east, not far off to the road to Concordat. The wizard detaches a piece of apparatus sitting on the table behind him. When he holds it out to you, the orb of brass and black stone pulses blue softly. When you take it in your hands, you feel it tugging lightly in your fingers, pulling towards the east. This device will pull towards the location where my research indicates the ruins are. It will make your job much easier. It will. In fact, this whole thing seems so easy even a child could do it. The road to Metropolis of Corda is one of the best roads in the entire realm, and the wizard's contraption should guide you the rest of the way. The only problem is that your destination happens to be in the middle of a thick forest, covered with snow and ice, infested by who knows how many bandits. Very simple, and very complicated. I'll be getting paid for this, right? The wizard nods. Indeed, I shall find a way to reward you. Gold? There's plenty of that. One of the artifacts from my collection? Either way, the wizard concludes, I will offer you a reward worth your efforts. Very good. Step onto the platform when you are ready to go. It will take you down to the tower. Isan smiles so proudly that you can hardly tell just how weary he must feel. May you move swiftly, may the sun guard your back, and may you find what you seek, he adds. In the meantime, I think I will get some sleep. With that, Isan turns away, slowly picking his way towards another door, this one to the side. With nothing else to accomplish here, you follow the wizard's instructions, step onto the platform. A moment later, it begins to sink. Slowly at first, but then with substantial speed, until less than a minute later you were back in a brightly lit entry chamber of the Wizard's Tower. William of Halliford is waiting for you just outside the entryway to the Wizard's Tower. Behind him stand a quartet of men and women who are obviously bodyguards.
Axios, he calls out. I'm glad I found you. My people in the market said you were headed this way.
You approach, trying to keep your worry from showing on your face. Reason would your boss have to confront you openly in a street like this?
I'm sorry about this,
William continues,
but it's urgent. No time for a note, my boy.
What's going on? You ask. Your boss looks around for a moment as if checking for spies and eavesdroppers, then leans in close.
You're familiar with the Blazing Sword Inn, are you not?
You nod. The Blazing Sword is the larger of the two and still under your supervision. William nods, but does not smile.
This morning, the owner and her family closed shop. They're leaving the city as we speak.
Your eyes go wide.
What?
The proceeds from business of Blazing Sword still makes up the majority of your profits. Without Frida and her family there to run the inn, your monthly earnings might as well be non-existent. Your boss nods again, expression grim.
Exactly. My sources tell me they are traveling by cart down the road to Concordat. I need you to catch up to them and bring Frida and her family back, unharmed and a state to reopen for business.
You nod. I'm already headed in that direction, you reply. Quickly you fill your boss in on the meeting with the court wizard. You finish. William nods.
Excellent. You may be able to slay two birds with one bolt, so to speak. You understand that this is, of course, a matter that requires utmost haste.
You catch your boss's implication immediately. Working for him has made you rather good at that.
I'll get started right away,
you reply.
Very good,
William replies.
Off you go.
With that, he turns and is soon gone. Now, okay, it takes you another quarter of an hour to walk back down until your feet step off the strangely warm rock of the causeway and onto the open squares of Kendrickstone's great market. In the spring, when you arrived, the great market was full of people. Rows of colorful stalls laden with goods and draped with bright awnings were crammed into the vast space, islands of commerce, and the vast thronging sea of shoppers. Now, after the long months of winter, the market is all but empty. A few counters are still open in the cold wind, and perhaps a dozen merchants are still selling their goods in the marketplace, which has seen its clientele and shops stripped away by weather and privations caused by the bandit campaign. However, there is always the possibility that one of those merchants may have something you will find useful. Will you see what the remains of the great market have to offer, or will you set off to the eastern road right away? I have to see what the market offers still. It doesn't take you long to look through the stalls still open. The few persistent merchants who remain in business huddle around the center of the vast space. The tiny cluster of canvas and wood shop fronts is surrounded by abandoned stalls and bare cobblestones, the last vestige of life in a once proud hub of commerce. A dying child wearing a giant's trousers. Despite the limited choice, a few things still catch your eye. The items are, of course, immensely expensive. Let's see. Despite the limited choice, a few things still catch your eye. The items are, of course, immensely expensive. But what isn't in Kendrickstone in this lean hard month? One stall is doing brisk business even now. The trader sells weapons, and in a time where every man, woman, and child fears for their safety when they venture outside the walls, tempered steel is in high demand. There's a sword on for offer this morning. It is brand new and it looks like it'll fit well in your hand. The trader asked a ridiculous sum of 400 silver for it, but it is worth the cost if you plan on getting into any fights soon. The trader also has armor for sale, and you see one suit that might just do it for you. It's an akaton, the kilted linen of cotton designed to be worn either under mail or by itself as light armor. With such protection won't stop a sword, thrust, or an arrow at close range. It might be enough to deflect light cuts or turn mortal wounds into minor ones. The suit sells for 300 silver, but it might be worth the cost. Lastly, there is a glass bottle full of some strange substance for sale on the counter of a trader with the rough accent of the Iron Marches. He says it's a potion of might concocted to increase your abilities for the length of a day. You've heard in passing of such potions, tinctures used by martyr heroes to double their might, turn themselves invisible, even heal grievous wounds in the span of 3 heartbeats. It is rare to see such bottles this far east, but perhaps for the cost of 75 silver, it might be worth a try. Definitely buy the Akaton. Alright, cool. I guess I only get to buy one, but damn it. Okay. You hand over your silver. Within a few moments, you are putting on your new armor, a thick tunic of quilted cotton and linen, stiffened with panels of leather boiled in beeswax at the front and shoulders. The new armor is tight around the waist and loose around the shoulders, but it fits comfortably enough. Covered from the neck to knee in padded cloth, you take an experimental walk around the market, feeling the fabric slowly loose as it stiffens and loosen around your joints. Perhaps later you will have time to sew up the loose parts and let out the tight ones a little. Right now, you have a job to do. Clad in your new armor, you head for the city's gates. The city's gates are wide open, but far from unguarded. As you approach, you see half a dozen members of the town watch and another dozen townspeople besides, all of them standing at the ready, crossbows loaded and ready to fire. This makeshift garrison pays you no mind as you walk out the gates. The attention is entirely focused on the forest edge, beyond the cleared land surrounding the city's walls. You doubt any bandits would be stupid enough to attack the city directly, but the last few months have made everyone nervous, and you feel a little safer being under the sights of so many loaded weapons as you make your way down the open road. This makeshift garrison, blah blah blah. The road itself is even wider than the road you traveled from Forrester's Hollow. The route to Concordat is Kendrickstone. Kendrickstone's primary link. One second. Fuck. Okay. The road itself is even wider than the road you travel from Forrester's Hollow. The route to Concordat is Kendrickstone's primary link with the long-settled coast and one of its main avenues of trade. Were it not for the bandits, the road would be packed with traders, travelers, and other would-be adventurers, churning the entire route into an endless morass of mud. Today, the road is almost unmoored, save for the ruts made by the few wagon wheels. At least the bandit attacks have made the road easier for you to walk along. Within minutes, though, you are past the open fields and into the great primordial forest that surrounds Kendrickstone. It is like walking into the midst of an army of skeletons. In a month or so, the huge great birches and elms around you will burst into green and the leaves will blot out the spring sun. For now, though, naked brown and gray branches reach up and over you. For half an hour, you walk deeper into the forest, keeping to the wide road. Wide road. At your belt, the magical stone of the court wizard gave you continues to pull forward, a little to the side now, but forward. Then up ahead you hear a noise, human shouts, screams, and sound of steel on steel. There's a fight going on up ahead. What will you do? Move forward carefully and investigate. You lower yourself into a half-crouch, you hands on your weapon as you creep down the road, keeping as close as you can to the bare shadows offered by the leafless trees around you. What you see before you, and there really is no other way to describe it, is a pitched battle. The The first thing you see is the cart. It's a big, heavy thing meant for carrying cargo and people. The crates and sacks it was carrying are strewn along the muddy road. The ox that was pulling it makes panicked sounds and pulls the grounded wagon with his frantic strength, doing naught save drag it deeper into the mud. Behind the cart, Pete huddled a set of recognizable figures. Frida, her heavy crossbow in hand, her husband in a pitted pot helm and rusted mace, and the children too. Around them are a dozen bandits dressed in black and armed to the teeth. You've stumbled upon an ambush. Let's get at it. Let's get at her. Alright. At the moment, one of the bandits tries to dash across the road to outflank an upturned cart. One moment. Even as the blah blah blah. Okay, he barely gets halfway across before another figure steps out from behind the cart. The newcomer is tall, powerfully built, and covered in head to toe in bloodied mail. In one hand, he carries a shining lawn sword. On his surcoat is a red towel and a blue chevron of the Knights of Kendrickstone. With mighty two-handed strokes, he beats the bandit's blade aside and then cuts him down with a great blow that splits him open at the waist. Even as the bandit falls screaming, two arrows. Even as the bandit falls screaming, two arrows bury themselves in the body of his killer. One drives deep into the knight's left arm, and the other into his thigh. Couldn't say that right. Let's see. One drives deep into the knight's left arm, and the other into his thigh. The mail-clad man staggers back with a grunt as fresh blood joins the rust-red stains already covering his armor and surcoat. Then 5 more bandits charge him, weapons in hand. The situation looks desperate, with the knight distracted by his new assailants. Nothing is keeping the bandits from overwhelming the remaining victims from the other side. Your help can turn the tide, if you're willing to take the risk. Actually, I've got a cunning plan to stop the bandits. As I always do. Rushing in, weapon out, won't do you much good. There are too many of them. You need to find some other way to defeat them. You could try picking out the bandits from hiding. There's plenty of cover along the forest floor for you to move among the bandits. Damn, it's still only a good. Fuck. Okay, don't tell me what my loyalty is, asshole. Alright. You could try picking off the bandits from hiding. There's plenty of cover along the forest floor for you to move among the bandits and strike from a distance. Of course, you'd need to move quickly. Neither the cart's defenders nor the wounded knight will last long either way. Otherwise, if you felt up to the challenge, you could always try bluffing the bandits into fleeing or surrendering. Obviously, convincing a dozen armed men and women that they're utterly outmatched would take a very convincing bluff, but if you think you can pull it off, it may be worth the risk. What's more likely, we able to take them out with a sling? I mean, come on. Alright, let's try it. We're gonna bluff. You assess the situation carefully. The bandits have the advantage, both in numbers and position. Trying to convince them that it is they who are outnumbered will not be easy. You step forward, trying to muster as much confidence as you can, a difficult thing with a dozen foes before you. They turn to face you as you approach, their eyes black and pitiless. These are not the same bandits you faced last spring. They seem colder, with harder edges. Stop! You command, but your voice cracks as the word catches in your throat. Fear and anxiety has gotten the better of you. The brigands know that now that they've seen you out in the open, have no intention of stopping. Damn it. You ready your staff as health. The bandits charge the wounded knight while the others go for the cart. Which will you defend? Mustering all the courage you have, you rush into the fray, moving as fast as you can to get between the bandits and the innocents they mean to kill. The attacks come from every direction, too fast to block, too many to dodge. Something sharp and painful cuts across the crown of your head. You stagger backward, dazed for a moment. Another blow cuts deep into your chest. Something heavy sends you staggering back as pain shoots across your ribs. Your foot catches on something, a loose stone, a wagon rut, or one of the fallen logs at the edge of the road. It doesn't matter. What does is that you find yourself falling backwards, down into the mud and slush of the forest floor. It takes you just a moment to get back on your feet. What you see isn't good. Before you is a scene of carnage. Half a dozen of the bandits lie dead, but so do those who try to fight them. You need to get out of here quickly before they see you. You run back down the road as fast as you can, trying desperately to ignore the pain of your wounds. You keep running until you can neither see nor hear the black-clad marauders as they pick through the remnants of the ox cart's cargo. Then, using the pole of the code wizard's magical device to orient yourself, you walk into the forest towards the source of the pole. Make sure to give the road a wide berth and banish the sight of the massacre on the road from your mind. Wonderful. So we fucked it up again. God, my guy sucks at fighting. It doesn't take long for the pull from the device to get stronger, taking you farther from the road and into the depths of the woods. Before long, you are in the deep heart of the forest, with ancient trees knotted thickly around you. The fingers of the underbrush tug at your clothes as the bare limbs of the hibernating oaks and maples cast a spiderweb of shadow on a forest floor thick with dead leaves and drowned in snowmelt. The pull grows stronger. You must be close now, but ahead you hear something that stops you in your tracks. Footsteps. Lots of them. I stay back, obviously. You wait in the underbrush as the sound of footsteps grows closer. Your breathing grows harder and your heartbeat pounds against your chest. Then the sound begins to recede. You take a moment to calm yourself and continue onwards. For the next hour you press on deeper into the forest. Worryingly, the wizard's device seems to be pulling you in the direction that the footsteps were going. The thought of running into who knows how many possible enemies is enough to keep you moving slowly and cautiously to make as little noise as possible. Ahead you spot a massive tree, its trunk easily big enough to encompass a small house. The orb pulls savagely now, as if the thing that it was designed to find is just beyond. You move up to the tree to look around and your heart all but stops. Not 20 paces in front of you is the edge of a clearing, and at its center, like a great coin punched into the dirt, sits a vast worn circle of smooth, perfectly proportioned stone. The device pulls right towards it. This cannot be anything but the rune Isan told you to seek out. At the edges of the circle stand 4 equidistant pillars, each stretching high into the sky, almost as high as a branched angle of the forest upper canopy. Each one is cracked and weathered, but all stand tall. However, the runes are not what makes you breathe, or your breath catch in your throat. As ancient and majestic as they are no match for what it is within them, a sight to make your blood run cold. For within that worn stone circle's boundary stands another circle, this one of wood and field stones stacked and lashed together at the height of a tall adult. Within the second circle stand row upon row of rough tents, darkened fire pits, as stands of arms, and dozens of armed figures clad all in black. It seems the ruins you must find and the stronghold of black-clad bandits are one and the same. Trudging in the midst of the camp to collect the sample for the court wizard needs would obviously be suicidal. But surely there would be some other way in. All you need to do, after all, is get close enough to chip off a bit of the stone. You could try employing stealth. The underbrush extends to within 10 paces of the flowering court ruin itself, though the real trick would be keeping yourself hidden long enough to find and pry away a sample. Alternatively, you could ambush one of the bandits as he or she comes out, perhaps to relieve themselves. Then you could take their clothing and simply walk in. That might work as long as you can make a convincing show of it. You must also consider that you know the location of the bandit camp. Is it really worth taking the risk to finish this job when you have the information that could save the city? Maybe it would be best if you hedged your bets and returned to Kendrickstone. We're gonna try. Okay. We're gonna try to disguise. Okay. Okay. You make up your mind, but before you can move, something strange happens. The room in front of you begins to glow. Not the even luminescent glow that you're used to, but more of a glimmer, like you feel in the sunlight. The light grows until the forest around you is bathed in an unmistakable blue nimbus of magic. At the center of it all stands a man in black robe, his face like the pale shadow of a skull, and his arms raised high and radiant with the nimbus of sorcery. You remember him, the one you saw 3 months ago on that night in Kendrickstone's docks. the one they had called Lord Milius, the disgraced and exiled former court wizard of Kendrickstone. The bandits crouch and curl up like bacon shriveling on a hot pan. They cover their faces as the light grows brighter and brighter. Soon the light is too bright for you to look at too. You avert your eyes for a moment. When you look back, the bandit camp all within it are gone, as if swept from the smooth floor of the stone circle. With the bandit camp mysteriously gone, your task becomes a trivial one. All you have to do is walk up to the ruined stone circle and chip off a piece. You hammer at a crack in the ruin with the pommel of your knife. Silvery blue veins flare bright across the stone every time you strike it.
Auto shutdown initiated.
Okay.
Auto shutdown cancelled. Mic on.
Nice. Chill, dude. Thanks, headset, for that. Silvery blue veins flare bright across the stone every time you strike it. But even with its magical properties, you need only a few moments to chip away a piece of the size of your thumb. At first, you wonder how you're ever going to find your way back to Kendrickstone through the thick underbrush and tangled forest paths. But it seems the court wizard planned for that eventuality. The second you picked up the stone that you've prized away from the ruin, the pull on the wizard's tracking rope slackens and dies, then picks up again in the opposite direction. Even so guided, it takes you most of the rest of the day to pick your way through the forest. It's slow going, and only luck keeps you from being accosted by wild animals, or worse, from more bandits, as you make your way back, following the orb's ever-stronger pull. The sun is low in the sky by the time you finally escape the forest onto clear ground. The road that took you from the forest in the morning is barely a few hundred paces from where you emerge. From there, it's only a few minutes' walk back to the gates. When you ascend upon the flying platform to the top of Kendrickstone's wizard tower, you find Isan waiting for you, his eyes intent, alert, and focused. Evidently, he used your jaunt in the forest as an excuse to get some sleep.
You have it?
He asks, his voice expectant. You reach into your belt pouch and pull out a small piece of stone you retrieved earlier that day. The wizard plucks it from your hands with barely restrained eagerness. His eyes narrow in scrutiny as he brings it up for a closer look.
Yes, very good.
He mutters to himself and then turns to you.
This is excellent sample, boy. How are you unwounded? Was there trouble on the way?
The good wizard nods.
Bandits on the road?
He essays. You shrug.
Possibly. I didn't wander close enough to see for myself.
The wizard nods approvingly.
It is good that you avoided risking yourself in the success of your assignment. Getting me this stone will do far more good than seeking out trouble for the sake of finding it.
The wizard moves on with barely even the space of a breath.
You had no further trouble beyond that, I trust.
You shake your head. No, but you relate what you saw in the stone ruin. As soon as you mention the bandit camp, the court wizard's eyes go wide. His sorceress legs scuttle backward, knocking over stacks of papers and books. Hurriedly, Isan grabs a half-empty notebook and pen and ink pot from his desk.
Start again, from the beginning,
he demands, his voice suddenly razor sharp.
Tell me everything.
For the next half hour, the wizard writes furiously as you relate to him what happened when you encountered the bandit camp within the flowering court ruin. He stops you almost every other sentence to ask questions, ranging from the obvious to the absolutely nonsensical. You understand why someone would want to know how many tents and people were inside the camp and how long the spell used to make them vanish took to cast. But why would he care about the absence of underbrush around the circle or lack of leaves on the trees? Finally, the court wizard seems satisfied with your account. He stops his ink pot, sets his pen down, and puts his notebook away.
I will need to report this to the Duke personally, but that can wait. First, I must see you compensated.
Isan pulls out a strongbox from under his desk.
I can offer you gold, if you wish it. I also have a powerful set of enchanted rings for my collection, each able to make you more skilled and more powerful. I'd be happy to offer you one.
The wizard pauses in thought for a moment, stroking his beard.
Perhaps, he continues, there's not wealth of magical items you wish, but recognition for your needs. I could certainly put in a good word for you in my report to His Grace if you wish.
I'll take one of the magic rings. The envoy. Okay. The wizard smiles. A wise choice, I think. He moves to a small cabinet at the side of the room, almost hidden behind the stacks of papers around it. He pulls a key from the compartment in the side of his leg chair and opens up a drawer. When he returns to you, he holds in his hands a case of polished redwood, closed with a lid of glass edged in steel. Isan undoes the latch and opens the box. Standing inside, you see 4 rings sitting on a bed of black velvet.
These are the rings of which I spoke. They should fit you well enough.
He points to one of the rings.
This one is a ring of the warrior. The others are, he points to the rest in turn, the ring of the scholar, the ring of the hunter, and the ring of the envoy. You may take one.
Envoy is probably the one we want. You pick up the ring of the envoy from the case and slip it onto your finger. At first, the ring seems to do nothing. It is only when you open your mouth to complain that you notice how the artifact's subtle magic has affected you. A dozen possible statements fill your mind as you try to tell the wizard his ring isn't working. Some snarky, some polished, some outright insulting. In the end, you opt for none of them. The ring works perfectly, you say, your voice reinforced with extra confidence. Isan smiles and nods.
Indeed, it appears so.
The wizard lets you save your reward for only a few short moments before returning to his more customary manner.
Now,
he says as matter-of-factly as ever,
I require silence and solitude. I'm sure your master awaits your return. Best you get going.
That's a dismissal if you've ever heard one. So you step back onto the platform that will take you down to the exit and leave the wizard to his work. William of Halliford is in the same place as he always seems to be, at his little desk. Deep in the bowels of his manse, a goblet of wine in one hand and a gold piece balanced on the knuckles of the other.
You return empty-handed and with an air of dejection about you, my young friend.
Your boss says as the guards show you in.
Might I conclude that you've not met with success?
You nod.
A pity.
Your boss replies, apparently disinterested in any excuse or possible explanation.
A most unfortunate pity indeed.
William of Halliford brings his goblet to his lips. Unlike almost every other time you have come to visit him, he does now pour you a cup as well.
You are one of my best and most reliable agents, Axis. You know that, don't you? That's why your failure today comes as much of a disappointment to me. I hope you will do better in the future.
He doesn't wait for you to answer.
You must be tired from today. Best you go home and get some rest. You should get those wounds looked at, too. Good night.
With the perfunctory dismissal, you are led back out of William of Halliford's manse. You made it back to your lodgings, sometime after sunset, after a quick meal. Your thoughts immediately turn to your bed. You almost collapse onto your mattress. It's been a long day. You have a feeling that the days are soon to grow even longer. I'm going to stop it here. Thank you for the one viewer. Well, however many came in and out.
Mic off.
But I'll be back maybe sometime this week, next week, whenever I get around to playing this game again. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and follow if you want to, keep watching. Subscribe on the YouTube side if you want to see more of these videos, and I'll see you guys. Bye.